Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for joining us for an oral history interview for the Virginia Museum of History and Culture's exhibit, A Better Life for Their Children, Julius Rosenwald, Booker T. Washington, and the 4,978 Schools That Changed America. My name is Tanya Meredith, the oral historian. Would you please state your name and the school that you attended?
First, I want to say thanks for coming. Okay. My name is Charles Williams, and I attended Cape Charles Elementary School.
We like to get a little bit of background about our
Okay.
narrators. Could you please tell me about your family, where you were born, your parents?
Okay. I was born here in Cape Charles, and I'm one of 7 kids, and I'm at the end of the line. I'm about number 6, and my mother had 6 boys, so she was a tough little short lady. My mother's name was Lillian Williams, and my father's name was Albert Williams. Yeah. And I was born right here in Cape Charles.
Thank you. Can you tell us just any childhood memories, experiences that you remember growing up in the community?
One thing this really sticks with me a lot is that I was really excited about going to school. Because like I said, I was at the back of the pack from the end, right? And here in Cape Charles, everybody walked to school. Okay. And the kids had to go past our house to go to school. I lived on Mason Avenue, right? And it was exciting to see the kids going, right? When you see kids going, you want to go too. So I was excited about starting school at that time, at the young age of 6 years old. It's just living in Cape Charles is different than living in the county because we had street lights.
Okay. Okay. Anything else that you wanted to add about your childhood growing up experiences?
Well, actually, one thing about Cape Charles as a kid, I didn't realize at the time that how much we were segregated against whites and blacks at the same time. Because the community that I was in basically was whites, with blacks, and we just basically stayed together, right? So it was good at the time, and I didn't get into a lot of the things about black and white at the time. And my mother and father were very good at that. I guess shielding us from us and telling us to do and don't not to do like that. So I didn't feel bad about it. The things that reminded me that was black and white is that when I went, I guess they say downtown, because they had water fountains that says black and white, and they had bathrooms that said black and white. And I used to ask, I can remember asking my mother and father, why couldn't I go in that bathroom? And while I always go around the back, go somewhere like that. But that was like a grown up experience, right? And as a child, I didn't feel the gravity of it until I got older. Mm.
Mhm. Do you remember what your parents said to you when you asked why you couldn't go? Do you remember what their response was?
Well, my parents back in those days, like, it's different. You didn't get an opportunity to ask a lot of questions. It was their way or no way. Now sometimes my father didn't take no prisoners. He was just he didn't. That's it. Don't ask no question. My mother would, if she should know, you just can't do that, right. And sometimes she would tell me later on why, but an instant answer most of the time it was no, just go and do what I say do. You didn't have all these options of what and how, when, like that.
Okay.
None with my grandmother.
Can you please tell me what year did you attend the Cape Charles Elementary School and how many years did you attend?
Well, I graduated in '64. I ended in '57. And I went to the 7 years. Yeah, and I really enjoyed going there because that's all I knew. I didn't have anything to compare it with, and that's all. And of course, it was to me, it was the friends you get to play with and things like that. And that was fun at the time.
Mhm.
Uh,
So, do you remember what a typical class day was like? When did schools begin? When did it end? And what happened during that class day?
when school started, we walked to school now. There was no school bus, and by me living on Mason Avenue at the time, they called it Front Street. But the Mason Avenue, and the school was over the hump. So I had the shortest distance because Cape Charles is 8 blocks wide and 6 blocks deep. So I didn't have to walk 6 blocks up to get to right. I was on the very end of the block. So it just mattered going over the hump to the school like that. Now that was a good experience because you get a chance, seemed like you get the chance to play and talk on the way to school. Then when I got there, it was like our principal was very mean. It was like business as usual, and in the classroom it was 2 grades per classroom, basically. And I can remember the first grade, the second grade, because that's when you learn to spell your name. Teachers them Miss Ames was really good, but everybody was stern. It was no yes or no, it was their way, But I like the recesses, getting out playing like that, right? But I used to hate to come in. I thought I could play a little longer because the bell would ring, that little bell would ring, you had to come inside, right? But it was good overall. I mean, compared to what I know, yeah.
Okay. Do you remember specific experiences with any of your teachers that
Oh yeah.
stand out?
Oh God. You know, back in those days, time they whipped you. I mean, they had this yardstick, right, and it was just like, and by me having 5 other brothers, right, it was kind of bad. I mean, we had a thing we would try, right? That didn't go too well at school, you know. So I can imagine, I can remember at times when you do something wrong, the principal would take you to the office, right? And you hold your hand out. It had a ruler that would hit your hand like that, right? So my brother and I were in the street. He was swinging so hard, so I did the kind of he smacked his leg. I thought that was funny, things like that. But because they didn't take how no, and I ain't gonna do this right. Like it just didn't happen, you know. But overall, to me, the school day was good. I got to play. I got to meet my friends. I got to learn something at the same time. So,
Do you remember the names of your teachers?
oh yes, the ones that really sticks in my mind. Mrs. Ames, like I said earlier, she was in the first because it was 2 grades. She was the first and second grade. Mrs. Brown, which was the third and fourth grade. I mean, and I remember Mrs. Brown because Miss Ames was just really straightforward. Mrs. Brown, I remember her because she had a brand new car. I can remember she had I mean, she came with a brand new, it's like orange color Pontiac, right? So boy, that was just fabulous, right? And she was nice and she was friendly at the same time. And Mr. Nottingham, he was when I was in the sixth and seventh grades, right? He was more straightforward, stern, but gave good advice, you know, and easy to talk to, you know.
Do you remember the materials, the books, workbooks, anything from school? Do you remember anything about them?
Oh yeah, but well, all the books we got was used. I mean, it was like broken and ragged. I think when I got in the fifth or sixth grade, something like that, that's the first time I seen a new book. All the older books. I think at the time that was getting towards the 60s, 62, and so they was complaining about racial equality and things at the time, right? And so they start doing a little more for the schools, per se, like that. But the books we would get at the beginning of the season, right? You would think you would start the year out with a new book. You get a book that's all written on. Somebody's put notes into it. The rock with things in the books like that, right? And or the back was torn off like that, right? And you think, well, what's this, right? It came from the other schools.
Did you know that at that time? Did
I
you
didn't I
know?
didn't know it at that time, no. And I'm just thinking at the time, well, the books just was damaged, you know, but it came from other schools like that. Because normally within the school year, we would start out with fresh new stuff, you know, and that wasn't fresh. Or sometimes some of the books, if it was 20 books, there might have been 2 or 3 new ones in there, and the rest of them was ripped to torn like that. You know.
Do you remember any extracurricular activities that the school did? May Day, any carnivals?
You know, we definitely May Day. That was one event which I didn't like. Anyway, as a boy, I thought it was stupid rapping pole. Being honest with you, I really did. You know, just me as a boy, right? But that was a big event, May Day. I don't remember any field trips we went on. If school did, I don't remember that, and I don't remember any times where we ever took group pictures together, things along that line, right? And then, of course, that was normal for me at the time 'cause I didn't know anything about that. But when you look back, right, and compare what other schools did like that, you didn't know. Or if you went and talk to somebody else, like a lot of times my nieces or nephews would come from the city, as you call it, and then ask me, "Y'all taking the pictures? Don't your school do this?" If they didn't tell me, I would never know the comparison of those two like that. And it made me feel like I was being left out. But I didn't bother me much. But we didn't. I wish now that I had school pictures when I was a kid back when, like a small yearbook or something like that. We didn't have no.
Okay. Were there any chores that were assigned to the boys or girls for you to do in school?
Well, the older boys, the ones in sixth and seventh grade, the school had a boiler system into it down in the basement, right? And I can't remember if it was coal or was it oil. Anyway, they had radiators around the top of in the school area, and the heat stopped coming. You had to go down and bleed the radiator. So the older boys go down and turn this knob on, let the air out, so the heat would come through it. And sometime in the morning, well, the older boys when they come in the morning, that's their job to do to go down to adjust the boiler, you know. But the younger kids didn't do that, just the older kids.
Okay. And what about lunch? Was lunch provided? Or
Yeah, I saw the school said, was lunch provided. No, we didn't have no cafeteria. But lunch was fun, okay, but you had to bring your lunch. I mean, it wasn't a thing where that you had to bring money for lunch. It wasn't a cafeteria in school at all. It was a basically 4-room school with auditorium and an office and bathrooms. You know, so at lunchtime you sit at your desk, eat lunch, and your parents would pack your lunch for you. You know.
Do you remember what would be in your lunches?
Well, actually, to be honest, this is the part I really like. Right, is that in my classroom, there's a couple of girls that had a weak stomach. You know, so like I thought Daphne Williams and Trisha, you get in there talk about something. Well, I just saw that movie last night. This guy got cut up in 2 pieces and or got his head cut off. And they have to say, well, then I take the lunch. Lunch was consistent with what your parents bought. Right. But they would always have nice lunches.
Who was your best friend in school?
In elementary school, I would say Michael. Michael and because in elementary Michael, and then I think my younger brother, he was great behind me.
And what was the typical academic year for the school? What month did it begin and end?
In the fall, it began and it went through what was it? What you had down here? March. I forget. It began August August to May. You know, we went to school in August. Cause I used to hate the fact August because it seemed like the summer was gone. You know, I just got out of school and they're talking about going to school, and I think I just got out in June and sometimes I went to July right now. I got to go back next month, right? And then I thought that was short.
So tell me what schools you attended after you left Cape Charles Elementary School and any any higher education.
Okay, when I left Cape Charles Elementary School, like, I was excited because I got a chance to go to high school, and that was like like dying going to heaven, if I could say it like that, because there was so many other kids there, right? And I was much older, right? Of course, the big thing that the boys were, there was more girls there, and that too. Another thing was we got to ride a bus because the bus had to pick us in Cape Charles and take us to the schools in Machapongo, right? So you got a bus ride at the same time. So those are experiences I never had before, you know. And then go to a school that would, keep in mind, like I said earlier, the Rosenwald School was a small building, 1 floor, 4 classrooms. When we went to elementary school, it was just huge, like going to a big city per se, with all the other kids at the same time. Like, and that was really exciting. And it had gymnasium. You didn't have all that things that we had down the big basketball court like that. So I was really excited about that there. The school itself was really nice. I enjoyed being there, right? Then again, at the same time, I didn't know it when I went there that it was all black. It didn't bother me as much, but I realized that, one thing that kind of stuck in my mind is that in Cape Charles, all the kids stayed in school in Cape, we call it the white school, right? And we had to leave from Cape Charles to go up to Machapongo. I don't know why I got to go so far to school in Cape Charles, right? But it didn't bother me so because all my friends were up there, right? And I was kind of like comfortable about it. I didn't want to go, why I got to go this far to school right here in Cape Charles, right? But when I got there, I kind of enjoyed it, right? Because the school was bigger and there was more people into it. And it had a lunchroom. You didn't have to pack your lunch anymore. So those benefits really excited me about going to that at the same time. Now, at the time, I don't think Cape Charles School had a lunchroom at the time, but that school had a lunchroom too. So I thought it was exciting.
I'm sorry. So in thinking about the education that you received at the time, at going to Cape Charles Elementary School, what did you think about the education at the time, and what do you think about it now?
Okay, at the time at Cape Charles Elementary School, right?
Right.
Okay. At the time, I thought it was good. Some parts unnecessary. Because I didn't quite understand what I had to be prepared for the future to come. It didn't bother me as much when I was there, right? And then after I left there and looking back now, I realized that the school system itself was really put together with rubber bands to a point where they didn't quite understand all the needs of kids at that time. It was like a one tier thing where if you fit into it or you didn't. They didn't know anybody about special ed kids, special needs kids and like that. That was just totally above their pay grade at that time. And a lot of the teachers was fresh out of college, right? Some had not quite finished it. They were taking summer school to finish because I didn't realize at the time that the county was struggling to get teachers and to get black teachers at the same time because whites would not teach the black school at the time. So they did all they could to get what they could in the school at the same time. But I would notice that the teachers there they would be taking classes in some of my students. I'm thinking, what you do for summer? I'm like, I have to go back to school, right? I'm thinking, why you gotta go back to school? You know, and later on I put it together. To actually get that degree. I mean, they're hiring with the conditions that they had to get that degree in a certain amount of time at the same time. So naturally, they did the best they could, right? But they didn't bring a full fledged ability to teach the kids at school at the same time. And they didn't. Looking back now, they didn't realize some of the drama the kids was going through that played out in the activities at school, the response at school, the ability to learn. They just figured the kids should learn, should do what they do, but it didn't work out for some of the kids because I'm thinking after some of the kids graduated from elementary school, right, some of them went on to high school, right, and some of them just dropped out. Some of them stopped there because I had to keep in mind at the same time it was still a big pressure for the kids to work on the farm to do something around the house to make money rather than go to school. And some of them, the ones some of them lasted to the ninth grade or 10th grade. A lot of them didn't get past the 10th grade because they was older and it was bigger, right? And the parents needed them to work with that, and they did what the mother and father did. But that's one thing my mother told me that it's no option for a driving out of school. And she did not. My mother realized that kids were doing it, but there was an option for me to drop out of school because she said if you don't do anything at all, you're gonna finish high school. And that's thank God she did do that because I could easily have fell in that surrounding doing it right. And then when I got to high school, I really enjoyed being at high school like that, right? But the teaching overall, the curriculum was better, but it still wasn't up to par. There was still a lot missing. Some of this, I realized some of the subjects and things they was teaching us, right, wasn't quite really preparing us for the overall journey in life, you know. But then, because when you left and went anywhere else, you realize that, okay, well, I didn't get all the things I should at that school. That's all they offered at the same time. But I mean, I guess they did the best what they had. I mean, I'm not criticizing for it, but that's just what happened. So.
What do you think of the efforts to collect the memories and legacies of the students who attended the Rosenwald, Washington schools?
Okay. I think it's a very good idea. I'm kind of, how should I say, cautious on make sure they collect all the correct information and that they portray the school in the right light. One of the issues I've had with it is that make sure that this, if you're going to say there's going to be a Rosenwald school, that you get a chance to show the public the way the school worked. And there's a lot of people want to see it. I mean, case in point, a lot of my friends are black and white. They've never been inside that school before. I got a lot of white friends that have never seen inside that school, was born and raised here at the same time, right? So I'm thinking, if you're gonna ask them to contribute to the way the school worked, right, to make sure you put a segment of it back so they can actually see it the way it was. Not because I believe in history should be told in a way, not to form blame and anything like that, right? Just that's the way it was. And I think if we understand that, we can do a better job going forward. You know, so I think that I pray that the school not only do that. I know they have to make the building sustainable, the cafeteria, but at the same time, don't leave out the actual history in the school and don't wash that over and get bogged down with being a vineyard for what anything like that and miss that part into it because it's a very important part of history. Because I know now, prayerfully, this document here that my grandkids, my great grandkids will get to see it. Because right now they got other things on their mind, but but I do know from my own experiences they will come back. One of the things I had in mind when I left at 18 years old, I want to catch the first thing smoking, going north, never return, you know. And I think waiting for my mother, coming home to visit, I might have done that. But now I realize now that, wow, where was my head at? This is home. And this is where my roots at, And it's very important that the story get told properly here. As long as it's done properly, I'm fine with it, And I pray for this to be one of the parts that get done properly. So.
Good. So after you graduated from high school,
Mhm.
what did your path take you?
Like I said earlier, one of the things I said earlier, but I graduated on Friday, right? I wanted to leave that Friday, but my mother wouldn't let me. But Monday morning, I caught the first thing smoking going north, right? Because I wanted to, I wanted to see the world, and I wanted to do something different. Okay, I knew I had quite a lot on my plate at the time because my mother was much older then, right? And the way she worked here, doing stupid labor, working somebody's kitchen like that was not for me. And I wanted to be able to provide things for my mother, right? So I didn't have a chance to play around, as you want to call it, right? My grades were academic strong to go to college, and plus my parents didn't have the money no way. So I had to figure out a way that I could leave here and be productive at the same time, right? So at 16, 17 years old, right, my friend of mine that his parents lived in Washington, we wanted to visit the city up there, right? And and I got this idea that I wanted to join the police department. They had a cadet program where I could go to school, you know, learn law enforcement and get paid. The part that caught my mind, the getting paid part, because I had to hit the road running, as you call it. I didn't have a free will to go 3 years, 4 years before I got a solid base of income, right? So that fit my purpose. So I started that, and I think in the tenth grade, I took the test for that. I went to the physical for that, right? So when all my friends were getting letters from accepted college, right, I got accepted to start the police academy. I graduated in June. I had a letter to start the police academy in August, right? And the difference is that they were going to college and they weren't getting paid. I was start as soon as I swore my hand, that's when I got paid, right? And I thought it was the biggest thing going to start. My career started basically, now after 18 years old, I went to Washington, joined the Metropolitan Police Department, and I started the police academy, right? That was the best thing that have happened to me per se, from the standpoint of having benefits, having finances stable like that, right? So when I left at 18, when I got 22, I came back here and I bought my mother's house and I paid cash for it. That was some things I wanted to. It helped me to achieve the goals I wanted to achieve in life, right? Because I got tired of my mother struggling trying to pay rent somewhere else here, and I gave a deed to a house at 22 years old. And I spent my 20 years and 2 days on the police department there, and it was a great career. I got to learn a lot. I think in 6 months I got to meet President Nixon. It was like from a country boy, something going on to a big city, and anything happened at one time, right? And in Washington, I didn't know it at the time. Washington famous for that you got to make it here because we make the money here. So to actually put the money in, so like that. So I had a good career there. That's when I met my wife and I had my kids there, right? And I managed to accumulate a good foundation for my kids and my family at the same time. And the point to get back to earlier, that my mindset about Cape Charles slowly began to change. I was constantly coming back to visit my mother, and then I realized at the time, especially after I retired from the police department, right, that I had more roots of things here that I didn't realize. I had more questions about some of the things we talked earlier. I didn't quite understand what what the elementary school over here, why I went here and there, right? I didn't understand why I couldn't go over here. So coming back home, answer a lot of those questions. A lot of, believe it or not, a lot of places I could not attend or go in when I was a kid. Coming back as a grown up, I didn't get to go into it because through just restrictions. Some of the houses here, some of the buildings, it just was off limit in the blacks at the same time. So my mother was still living. I was still coming back and forth here, right? And I think towards the last 5 or 6 years of her life, right? I mean, I was like here 28 days out of 30 days back and forth with her. Then I realized that, that this is really a home at the same time, right? Of course, my mother passed, right? And then it really hit me hard then because I I kind of wish that I had made the decision to move back home while my mother's living, right. But I made the decision to move back home, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made. not only just for me, it's for my kids at the same time. They get to see their roots where their parents and grandparents are, right? And all that. Of course, my kids get a little trivia when I say that, about death. And I told them we're all going to die at some point in our life. I said, all my family's in the same graveyard. This is where I want to be at. Like that. And she said, they don't talk like it. What it's going to happen. Like, so all my roots and family stuff here, right? And I'm just so glad that I did move back here. I'm still learning a lot about the county here, the roots here, the historical part here, which is really true. And I think about what God, saying, that this is really my roots, right? And I come back here to be actually to soar and to understand what my purpose of life is. And I learned more about that by being here than somewhere else. I mean, the Washington area was fine, right? But that wasn't home. This is home here. So,
So, before we close, is there anything else that you would like to add to the interview that I did not ask you?
no, you did a very good question, a very good way of a good job of answering the questions.
Mhm.
The only thing I want to say is that I pray that this video and this here will give people an opportunity to see inside of Cape Charles here and the community here and realize it's a great place to live, a good place to raise kids at the same time. And I wish I learned it earlier, but it is. And thank God for that. And thank God for you guys coming here and taking time to do this.
Thank you so much for participating in the
You're
oral
more than
history
welcome.
interview. Thank you.